Good afternoon. And today, of course, is our opportunity to do Facebook Live here with the mayor, Travis Stovall. And with me, we have our incredible city manager, Nina Vetter. Nina?
Hey everyone, thank you for joining another Facebook Live. Excited to be here and to answer some of your most pressing questions about what's happening at the city.
Excellent. As always, you get the opportunity to actually send us questions through the chat. So please do that. We actually did receive a couple of questions in preparation for this event. So we're going to answer those questions. Make sure that you get your questions in the chat so that we have an opportunity to answer those questions during this Facebook Live session. Sometimes if you send us those questions and we don't always have all of the answers, we'll make sure we get those out back to the community so they can be well informed. With that, we are starting with an opportunity to speak to our community about the violence that has occurred over the weekend. We're saddened and devastated by the acts of violence that has been perpetrated across our community. And just want to ensure you that community safety is of the utmost importance. As we work together as community to solve some of these challenges, we ask you to stand with us as we look to make the changes within our community that we need to make. Now, with that said, we have been working hard with our law enforcement folks here in Gresham and beyond to positively impact what we're seeing and making investments. We have a multi-agency group that works together that includes the Sheriff's Department, Portland Police Bureau, that also includes the FBI, the DA, the District Attorney's Office, and also the U.S. Attorney, as we work together with this multi-agency group to bring a positive impact within our community on the things that we are struggling with here. We're seeing some of this all across the country. So this isn't something that's unique to just our community, but we're seeing it all across the country. Along those same lines, we also have initiated our program called Safe Gresham, which includes three critical components. It includes prevention, intervention, and collaboration. I just talked about some of the collaboration work that we're doing across the community. But the prevention and intervention is also incredibly important. And so we actually set up what's called our Youth Violence Prevention Program. We were able to garner roughly $2 million that's supported by the state of Oregon through the legislature, thanks to some of our legislators that work in the legislature. They've actually given us those dollars to work on this program. So that's the prevention side. And we want to talk about some of the things that our Youth Violence Prevention Group is doing these days. So that's one of the major topics that we would like to cover. And again, we received roughly about $2 million to invest in our youth violence prevention. So Nina, what are some of the things that our youth violence prevention team does? And some of the things that they've done recently. They've had some recent events that has actually improved some of the opportunities to see the work that they do. So Youth Violence Prevention Program, talk to us about that.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to recognize that a lot of the violence that we see today is unfortunately with our youth. And so it is critical that we have this program to engage and ensure that our youth have the opportunities, the support systems, the resources to be successful, to have a healthy life, and to feel like they can transition out of an at-risk situation if that's one that they're in. So it is so critical that we have this program here in Gresham, and we're very thankful for our council support to get this program up and running. Our program does a lot. Like you mentioned, a lot of it is ensuring that we have the mentorship abilities for our kids as well as recreational opportunities so that at the end of the day, our youth have an opportunity to participate in something that is positive and engaging with other youth and not having to turn to other activities like violence. In addition to that, we partner with community-based organizations. And that's really important because our community-based organizations are the ones who have those trusted relationships with the community. And so it's so important to make sure that we're connecting with them so that they can get the resources to the youth, that we might not have those connections as city employees. We might not have that trusted relationship yet, but our community-based organizations do. So it's really, that program is an incredibly important part of the youth violence prevention program as a whole. And on that note, last week, we hosted the first Yamhill block party, in which we were able to engage some of our community-based organizations like the Underground Gym, which gives kids an opportunity, again, to participate in something positive and building themselves up, quite literally, with other kids in a gym. Play, Grow, Learn, a lot of other CBOs, again, that really serve as this incredibly important support network. So thankful to all the CBOs that participated. We had great community participation in the Yamhill block party. So a lot that our youth violence prevention program does that's really critical to the future of Gresham. And the future of Gresham is our kids. It's our youth, and if we're not investing in them and trying to set them up for success, we're not really setting up our city for success.
So the Yamhill Block Party, I was able to attend that, able to talk to some of the great CBOs, community-based organizations that were there in attendance, and really begin to understand some of the great opportunities they have to connect to community. There was an organization there that was serving roughly about 7,000 meals a month. Incredible as they look to, again, engage our youth and our families to ensure that they've got that path towards opportunity and engagement, which are some of the things that are critically important as we look to curb what we see going on in our community as we currently see it. I did kind of engage a little bit with the Underground. They wanted me to do pull-ups, but in my advanced age, Nina, I did not see that was going to be beneficial for them or myself. I might pull something. So I didn't take them up on that, but I will try to get in better shape and attend the Underground CrossFit gym to connect with the youth in that way, to see, some of the positive impacts that they're having in that regard. And when we think about kind of that prevention, intervention, collaboration, this is critical. This concept I'm going to use the cliche statement of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I think in this situation, really investing in that prevention can help us deter the youth from going the route that we witnessed over the weekend here in Gresham with some of the violence that had happened here. Along with that, we talk about kind of that prevention piece of this, and I think folks are rightfully so thinking and asking questions about what are we doing as a city in regards to some of the things that we're seeing. And we've been at work. We've been partnering with our I was going to say GPOA, but the Gresham Police Officers Association, our leadership, the council has been working together to bring about solutions. Some of those things, if we were just to highlight a couple of them, the council approved $5.2 million last year to assist in both sworn and unsworn positions, primarily in that regard, the unsworn positions, what we call support positions, that we're looking to bring those folks on. We already brought on some of them. We've got more that we're going to bring on. Those are to assist us. We also did some retention stuff. We did that for our police officers, our valuable police officers, but also everybody throughout the organization. And sometimes I don't think everybody understands the support network that's required across the entire agency, and when I say agency, the entire city. So those are things that are absolutely required. It's not always just investing in one area, but we had the opportunity to give some retention bonuses. We've got the take-home car program for our police officers, something that's new that we're working on and continuing to see evolve. Other things that we've actually been able to implement are, I was just going to give you an opportunity to kind of expand on the few things that I gave. Anything else?
Yeah, those are great examples. We also are participating in important collaborations like the Safe Streets program with the FBI, and we've also collaborated more recently with the Sheriff's Office for some enhanced missions, which we have been talking about on some of our city social media that have been really effective in recovering stolen vehicles, seizures of guns, several arrests made on people who were out for warrants for arrest. So we've had some successful missions and understand this is an ongoing challenge that we face. And the reality is we didn't get here overnight, and it's going to take us a little while to change what we're seeing. And a lot of it is, because what we've talked about a lot, is our shortage in staffing, and our limited budget at the end of the day is really one of the biggest challenges we faced. Our police department has not had the resources that it has needed for many years, and with this uptick in crime and violence, it obviously impacts the capacity of our police department and really stretches us even more thin because of what we're seeing. So our big challenge that I know our council is going to be talking about next week at our council meeting is making sure that we have our long-term financial plan so that we can have the long-term finances to support increasing staffing to truly solve this issue long term. But in the meantime, all of the things that you just said, that $5 million council approved, is helping us really bridge the gap in the short term while we solve for a long-term financial future.
Now, just briefly, you mentioned the financial challenges that we have as a city. And I've actually, I think, shared this prior on previous Facebook Live opportunities. But when we think about kind of that financial situation that the city of Gresham's in, we have to go all the way back to 1992 when the last levy was actually passed here in Gresham. I believe it was 2006, 2007. There was a report prepared for the city of Gresham that highlighted we needed roughly about 155, if I remember correctly, sworn officers. From that point to I think recently, we've been at 127. So under-resourced in that area based on an early 2006, 2007 report. I believe we've already gotten some insight into this Barry Dunn report that's going to be coming out next week, that our number should be much closer to that than it is at the 127. But some folks will ask, well, how does the city of Gresham's resources compare to our sister cities? Well, the city of Gresham is roughly 115,000 people, so just shy of 115,000. Our sister cities that we normally compare ourselves to is Hillsborough at about 108,000 and Beaverton at about 97,000. Hillsborough's budget, general fund in comparison, our general fund historically last year was about 80 million. Hillsborough's was 130 million. Similar sized cities were actually larger. They've got more than 50% additional resources that they have to deploy in investing in their city. City of Beaverton, their general fund is $100 million, but that $100 million actually doesn't cover their fire or their parks. Those are separate because they both exist in a district. So if you were to place those two back into their general fund, it's probably going to be 130 to maybe $140 million. And so that's the difference of what we're dealing with. We've got an $80 million general fund compared to a 130 to 140 and compared to another 130 million. To get to a city that's got a similar size as us, you have to go all the way down to Medford, which has about a $73 million general fund. But they only have about 77,000 people in comparison to our almost 15. There's about a 40,000 person difference, and we have just about $7 million of additional resources to deploy and invest in our city. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we have in being able to deploy the resources that we need. So as individuals and folks, mentioned, we need to further support our police and fire and other resources. I agree. Absolutely, I agree. We both agree. And it's really making sure that we have those resources to deploy and invest in our community. And that's asking our community to step up and make those investments with us so that we can do the things that they would like us to do so that the community develops in the way it should. And again, it's a comprehensive concept. It's really making sure that we have the opportunity to invest in that prevention, intervention, and the collaboration that we talk about when we're talking about a safe Gresham. So, I'm assuming we have a question.
Question. They wrote in, want to know what we're doing to help the homeless because they didn't notice any cooling shelters in Gresham during the last heat wave.
Excellent question. Excellent question. As a matter of fact, it just so happens that we have a federal delegation here tomorrow visiting one of our cooling centers that we actually did have in Gresham. It was at the Sunrise Center here in Rockwood, and we actually we did have some cooling centers, and we've got the administrator of the EPA that's going to be out visiting us, and then a couple of our federal delegation that's going to have an opportunity to come visit with us. So they're going to be here recognizing some of the work that we did there in those cooling centers, but also, raising a bit of concern about the rising temperatures that we're seeing. I think it's a great question because it's a recognition of what we're seeing across our communities here, specifically in the Pacific Northwest, where we don't normally see the 100+ days in a row that we're seeing this summer. And of course, last year we saw the heat dome. I believe we hit in some places 115 degrees, which is very abnormal for the city of Gresham and beyond. So Great question. We're actively working on additional cooling centers as we move forward and ensuring that we've got the opportunity to open up some locations, potentially like gyms and things like that, school gyms that could accommodate some of this. But you are exactly right. Your concern is valid, and we did have some cooling centers, but we're going to be working on more as we continue to look at how do we make sure that we're taking care of our community, specifically our homeless population. And we're very connected with our homeless population here in Gresham. We've got a great homeless services team that works extremely hard, and they're out there staying very well connected and making sure that we check in on them as actually daily, making sure that we get them the resources that they need and ensure that we're connecting with them so that if something like this happens with the heat or even the cold, they have an opportunity to stay connected with our folks. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, thank you. That we did have a cooling center open. I am very proud of the homeless services team. And again, thanks to City Council, we were able to expand that team in 2021, which is really helping us make sure that we can serve everyone who is experiencing homelessness. And also in partnership with Move In Multnomah, we've been able to get several people into housing in the last few months who are experiencing homelessness. So we have been making significant progress in providing people with the resources they need who are currently experiencing homelessness.
And that's the critical point. I mean, really, it's not just about providing services to them that are unsheltered. It's really about ensuring that we can find the pathways from that unsheltered scenario all the way through to some type of permanent housing. And so that's the really exciting and cool thing that our homeless services team is doing a really good job on. I'm hearing great things about exactly what you just said, Nina, those folks who are actually finding that more permanent housing solution. So super excited about some of the things that we're hearing there. Any other questions that have come in?
Not currently, but you had a couple from yesterday and the day before.
Okay, we have a question regarding seeing people on a road in Gresham traveling 40 to 50 miles per hour. Why haven't I seen any police officers in the area? That we need to address the speeding, essentially. So kind of asking what we can do. So I'll start with this one. I'm happy to hand off to you. As we mentioned earlier, one of our challenges is our shortage in staffing and the ability of the police department to be everywhere at once is quite limited. However, one of the things you'll hear about from the Barry Dunn Police Organizational Assessment Review next week that will be presented to Council is that there is an opportunity for our department to utilize technology more to try to fill in the gaps when we can't have an officer present. You probably have heard of several uses of technology that address traffic and speeding issues. So that certainly is an option that you'll see in the report and that we can consider. And of course, I will also add, we do have a traffic division here. So if you have a concern about speeding or about speed on a street, we do a assessment first to analyze what is happening and then provide recommendations.
Well, and I think, Nina, you covered all the key points there. That's probably one of, outside of public safety, this is probably one of the biggest requests that I receive as the mayor as I'm out and about. Folks are talking about speed. And, just as I was out at the block party on Yam Hill just the other day, there was an individual who came up to me and, really wanted to know about, how do we curb some of the speed going through neighborhoods. And I got a request about a year ago and reached out to our traffic division. And they had already been engaged in this whole process. And over the weekend, I was actually out on that road. And one of the requests of that community was the signs that actually tell people their speed. And it was very cool because, of course, those signs are now up. They're not activated yet, but they're going to be activated relatively soon. But the staff was already on top of the situation. So I, when they reached out to me, when the community reached out to me, I was able to connect with the staff, and they said, hey, it's actually well underway, and it's so cool to see the outcome that those signs are up, and they'll have exactly, and those signs have been shown to lower the average speed. So these and what they're going to do is they did a pre-study, just like you said. They did a pre-study, and they're also going to do a post-study. So when the signs get turned on, they're going to give it a little bit of time and then go back and actually redo the speed study that they did. through that neighborhood. So this is the city of Gresham working for our great community members. So it's really fun to see some of those positive outcomes. We certainly know that we're going through some challenges, and it's really nice to kind of see those things as they come out, and we got the positive stories. We had some great conversations that we had at the Yamhill Block Party. I had a really fun opportunity to go out to Play, Grow, Learn. They did a soccer camp with some local soccer clubs, and the youth there were just ecstatic. They had about 85 youth for the week. So seeing that engagement are some of the heartwarming things that, even though we see some challenging times with what's going on from an economic standpoint, what we're seeing, and some of the challenge with public safety, these things are the things that really bring us that hope that we're excited about and where we know we're going. So yeah, again, please don't hesitate to bring us those challenges that you see in the community. If you got traffic things, please let us know what's going on there, and appreciate the question.
Absolutely. We also had a question about, we feel as a community member, the police are not caring about our safety and are more concerned with writing a ticket. What are they going to do, the police, I think is the reference there, to keep us safe? What I can say is our police absolutely care about our community. That's why they're here and signed up for this really challenging job, is to serve our community. And so we do know that they do care. As I've mentioned now several times, it is hard because we just don't have enough staff. And I know that breaks the heart of our police officers when they have to prioritize what calls they're going to, right? Because they can only go to so many things at once and might have to go to one that's more urgent over another. So please know, first and foremost, that our police absolutely care about our community and are doing the best that they can.
And of course, Nina, I will second and third that comment. I get the opportunity, as you do, to speak with a lot of our officers, and they are passionate about safety in our community every single day. And you mentioned kind of the speeding ticket. I mean, those are, as you heard with the question prior to that, they're saying, hey, why aren't we writing more? And that's a mechanism that assists us in actually making sure, when we think public safety, we think community safety. It's also about what we see with traffic. And we've seen during the pandemic and just coming out of the pandemic, sadly enough, we've seen an increase in traffic-related deaths. And that's something that we do not want to see in our community. And so we need to make sure that we are doing things from a traffic perspective to ensure that people are abiding by our traffic laws. And so that's a part of the enforcement that comes along with ensuring that we're able to keep our community safe. And it's not just about some of the things that you're seeing on the news, but these are these things that we absolutely are concerned about. So we appreciate the question in regards to that, and I can reassure you and assure you that our officers absolutely care about our community.
We did have one additional question about zoning laws that allow businesses to have signs at the Rockwood Market Hall.
Great question. So that's a question that I don't think we actually have the answer to right here and right now. But what we will do is, and we want to encourage you to continue to send us the questions, either live here on Facebook Live or before or after, if you have those questions come up. But that's a great question. So zoning laws in comparison, in response to the Rockwood Market Hall. So we will absolutely follow up on that question and get the information out to make sure that we can get that answered for you, because there's a lot of details when it comes to zoning and everything that goes along with it.
Yes, happy to get that question answered offline. Thank you.
And speaking of Rockwood, there's an event coming up, actually. And speaking of Rockwood Market Hall, there's an event coming up, and it is I Heart Rockwood. Tell us about that, the I Heart Rockwood event that's coming up.
Yeah, so on August 28th, there will be the I Heart Rockwood event in the Rockwood Plaza. It's an opportunity to celebrate the vibrancy and diversity of the Rockwood community. And there will be a lot of organizations and resources there for the community. It's also a celebration as well. So we encourage you, if you are able, to stop by again on August 28th to the I Heart Rockwood event.
Excellent.
Yes.
I know this event has been around for quite some time. Before it's called Rock the Block. not to I Heart Rockwood. I've been to a number of these over the years. Excellent event. Just welcome you out. Come on out, enjoy a time out in the new downtown Rockwood. If you haven't been out, visit the Market Hall, Rockwood Market Hall. There may not be signs. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Come out and enjoy. There's some great food to be had at the Rockwood Market Hall. Did we get any more questions?
No, but we should mention we're accepting donations of new backpacks so that we can hand them out at the I Heart Rockwood event.
Excellent.
So we can bring them here to City Hall.
Great.
That's Sarah Kagan behind the camera. So what she just said was we're accepting backpacks for donation. If you can bring them here to City Hall, I know that's been a big piece of the I Heart Rockwood event, is to hand out these backpacks for youth as they return to school. So please, if you've got the opportunity to donate some of those backpacks, please get those over to us here at City Hall. We'll take care of those and get those distributed down to the community there. So greatly appreciate that. Anything else that we know that's coming up as we begin to wrap up this Facebook Live session?
Yeah, I would like to share some of the important things we have coming up on council next week.
Excellent. Let's do it.
I did mention we will have the police organizational assessment review presentation, which provides the consulting firm did an analysis of the police department, our staffing resources, and we'll be providing recommendations on how we move forward as an organization. So please stay tuned for that. Also next week, we will be discussing our financial plan, our financial roadmap, to ensure that we have the resources we need as a city to continue to provide the community with services. And last but certainly not least, we will be also presenting our strategic plan for council adoption, which really lays out the vision for the future of Gresham and where we are going as a city and as a community. So it's a really exciting council meeting we have next week. Please stay tuned, or you can always watch the video recording if you're not able to tune in. But I do think it's a really important meeting where council is going to be taking some important actions to lay the groundwork for the future of our community.
Wow, when you think about that, Nina, those three critical things, basically coming to an intersection at that one point in time, that's a hefty amount of work. When you think about the long-term financial stability plan, the strategic plan, and the police department review, that's some heavy lifting. That's all occurred simultaneously, parallel. So to have that all come together at this point in time, to be able to kind of chart the path forward, is an impressive amount of work. So thank you, and thank the team for everything that you've done to put that all together so the council can actually weigh in and give some insight and input and direction on some of these critical things. So with that, thank you all for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. As always, please join us next month for Facebook Live. And again, we want to send you off by letting you know that we actually stand with you. We understand what's going on in our community, and we're doing a lot of things to help address it. Our police department is right along there with us. They are passionate and caring about the situation. And certainly, as a community, we want you to feel safe. And so, until we meet again, stay safe and stay healthy. We'll see you soon.